I was witch crazy when I was growing up, partly inspired by Sabrina the Teenage Witch and partly inspired by films that involved witches, and one of those films was Hocus Pocus. And I have to say, I struggle to watch this film now because I cry at the cat character. I'll say no more, but I don't want to give any spoilers away in case you haven't seen it. But I have so many fond memories of watching this on VHS as a child. It was released in 1993, so it's 1 year younger than me. And it's directed by Kenny Ortega with the story by David Kirschner and Mick Garris. And it's got an absolutely fantastic cast. I think the most standout is Bette Midler, but we'll look at the cast in a moment. The description from IMDb is as follows. A curious youngster moves to Salem, where he struggles to fit in before awakening a trio of diabolical witches that were executed in the 17th century. This is a Disney film, so it's family friendly. It's rated PG because it's pretty scary. Even to me, as a fully grown adult, I do watch clips of it from time to time now, even though I avoid the cat. I love it. It's so dark, it's intimidating, it's terrifying. The witches look fantastic. The dialogue is incredible. The music is fabulous. There is one thing in this, though, that I think is worth mentioning, just as an interesting point, to be honest, or I find it interesting. The whole fact that these witches were executed, and there's obviously a lot of historical treatment of witches. None of that I would have picked up on as a child when I was, first watching it when I was, 5, 6, 7 maybe. For me, it was just a good, fun, terrifying film about witches. But when you're looking at it as an adult, as I do on occasion, it's a lot darker and more important looking at the treatment of witches. But these are not nice witches. These are not the nicest people ever. They have the most amazing costumes. And that is something that definitely stands out. Sarah Jessica Parker as Sarah is amazing, but for me, Bette Midler as Winifred is almost emblematic of 1990s witches in films. She's just, when you look at her, there's just something about her that screams terror. You can't look at her and scream. It's amazing. The narrative development is lovely because we get this quote-unquote curious youngster moving to Salem. There's a kind of a likability to this character. And as we have some of the younger characters to whom the audience can relate, starting to explore Salem and discovering these witches and unleashing their powers, it's pretty incredible. It's very scary to see the Sanderson sisters come to life. I would not want to meet them in a dark alley. There is absolutely nothing about this film that I think doesn't work. As I said, it's emotional. It's very scary for a child, but even for somebody who now worships horror films, there's just something about it that's really intimidating. It's eerie, the lighting is foreboding, the music will penetrate your brain and not leave you alone. The costumes are incredible. Oddly, it's only won 2 awards. It won the Academy of Sci-Fi, Fantasy and Horror Films Best Costumes, which I am not surprised about. That went to Mary Eve Vogt. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but she has done such amazing work. She did Crazy Rich Asians, Hairspray Live. I'm just glancing down her IMDb. There are so many credits to her name. Absolutely fantastic. So that's not a surprise in the slightest. And it also won the Best Youth Actress Leading Role in a Motion Picture Comedy for the Young Artist Award, which went to Thora Birch. It's an incredible film. I'd love to know how it fares with the next generation, because I think now it's got a very strong nostalgic feel for those of us who grew up in the 90s and watched this as our kind of childhood annual Halloween film. But I don't know if it appeals so much to younger audiences now who are perhaps used to maybe slightly better CGI and more intimidating stories. But honestly, personally, I would guess that it's a pretty timeless classic. I think it hits the nail on the head. It has the tone right. The characters are likeable or love to hate. It's relatable in parts. It's exquisite, and honestly, I think Hocus Pocus is pretty perfect.